It's Shane with the Social Freedom Tribe. Wanted to come at you with the video today about how to have fun with these tasks and how to have fun going towards goals. I had all these other videos where I talked about basically how there's a crossroads between choosing to work and choosing to not work, and how modern society basically we have this predicament where work becomes stressful because we don't know actually how to make it fun. And so what we end up choosing and what we're taught to do from modern society is basically we look at like we make decisions emotionally. So it's working is stressful and not working is not stressful. And so when our brains are deciding between these two things, they're like, well, this has the better emotions. And so the way we do that, we using our rational minds, we actually put guilt and shame on not working, and so that this actually has the worst negative emotions than this. And then either way we choose, we're just going to feel like crap, because either we're going to be really stressed out or we're going to feel guilt and shame. And really, when we're taught that and we just keep teeter-tottering back and forth between those decisions, it's like guilt and shame, stress, guilt and shame, stress, and then it's back and forth, and we end up with somebody with low confidence and low self-esteem. And I want to come out with this video today because since I've had these other videos talking about this kind of stuff, I've had some friends just really courageously and vulnerably admit that they're like, yeah, that's me. I've been taught that way, and how do I make it, like, like, how do I go from this place of switching back and forth between stressful working and this coping where I feel guilt and shame, to actually something where I don't feel guilt and shame about not working, but I just feel so good about working that I choose working anyway, and then I don't fill my body with stress and I have fun. Like, how do I have fun with these tasks? Like, how do I have fun with work? And so it's a really interesting question, because really I've just slowly accrued this ability just by going through boredom, and that's like the thing I recommend most, is just like sitting there in boredom, and then in that boredom your thoughts are going crazy, you're kind of like in chaos, and then you just like do something like you feel inspired to, like you just start tapping on an armchair or something like that, and maybe you start tapping um, different beats or something like that with two different fingers, and there's something like fascinating by it. There's some like kind of mastery, there's some kind of like reorganization of the brain in that. And I want to take that even further, like taking that same kind of thing of like just within boredom, you're doing something to reorganize your brain, to put your attention into this task, and to just start enjoying your life just from you yourself, and not from something holding your attention and stimulating you. This is like a way of like we can enjoy tasks. So how do we do that? Like, what are the elements of that? Well, what I've found is that a book called Drive by Dan Pink actually really helped me find a lot of this stuff. And basically, what Dan Pink talks about is the different elements of motivation. Particularly if you're a manager and you manage employees, it's the book that it's really meant for, is like, how can you manage people in a way that brings about more motivation? And what he talks about is basically different elements like purpose, mastery, and autonomy. And I find those keys really helpful for getting myself into a flow state and getting myself into a state where I can like enjoy going towards a goal and enjoy doing a task. So purpose is like, does this actually matter? Like this thing that I'm doing. Um, and really, well, that can go so many different directions. I'm struck by it. But for me personally, the way I've used that is when I go into music and I'm like really fascinated by these whole polyrhythmic things, I feel a sense of purpose because I feel like I'm tapped into this domain within music that's really not that explored, and I'm just fascinated and super curious about what I could make or how this goes. And I particularly, I just don't like following what other people tell me to do, like in music. Like, here's how you have to write lyrics, here's how you have to do this, here's how you do this. It feels stressful to me. So that's the key of autonomy, meaning I'm choosing for myself. Particularly I like learning processes of like when I join a sport, I'm like, okay, this is how you're supposed to do it. But I like mastering that first and then getting out of it. Um, and once I get out of it, that's where I feel this like flow state of creativity where uh, maybe I don't maybe I don't write lyrics in a way of it's like this one line and then A B rhyming style or something like that. Maybe I actually just choose. I write a bunch of words in one line that all just sound similar to each other and like not even rhyming, but just like kind of similar. And then I do another line and like I do like a bunch of words like that. Um, and I don't even like necessarily have the word. I don't even have to have the lines like rhyming with each other, and I'm just like experimenting. So it's less like how do I get to this goal. I'm still like I have the intention of going towards a goal, but it's more like what would happen, what if. So there's like ways of like people ask themselves questions like, or people say I need to do this. Like if I do this task, I have to do this. And like it's really not true. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go a certain direction. And there's people that say like, oh, I should, or what should I do? And those people are just like really stuck in the should. Like there's like a as if there's a right or wrong. And unfortunately, these like I need to or I have to and should like they get in the way of this creative like what if I do it this way, what if I do it this new way that like people told me not to do, what if I try this thing. And with what if there's this sense of curiosity and there's this sense of like whoa, I wonder what happens. It's just like this wonder. And really, if you like really tap into some kind of like intense curiosity, it could be this huge drive towards figuring out this creative side of this new domain. Like you can take like with polyrhythms, I'm trying many different ways of doing it, and I'm not going to get into it. I could make an hour video just like about this one topic. I'm so fascinated by it. It's so fun. I take pieces of paper and I do tons of like different things with it. And like I'm constantly like learning new things and trying different things. 'Cause the curiosity's just got me by the horns. So like there's a sense of like purpose of like I can change this domain. I'm on the cutting edge of this domain. I'm in this new area within this domain, or this like not heavily explored area in this domain. And if I actually master this and if I actually like make something that sounds good or make something that sounds creative within this field, I can actually have influence on the rest of the domain. Like I can have influence on people that might be curious. Like I might provide this new sound that non-polyrhythm music cannot provide, and then people are like, "That's the sound I need. That's the emotion I'm trying to convey." And then I've influenced that person because maybe they're like trying to do polyrhythms now, and that's like I feel a sense of purpose. Like I actually matter. I'm useful within that. And there's a sense of mastery of like if I keep mastering this whole polyrhythm thing, like it's just like if I just keep doing that, I just get better. And what I notice is that there's like a reorganizing of my brain. Like my brain feels different. My brain, like I notice different things. Like my skills are different. My timing is better. And and it's not just like within this domain of like just within music. Actually, when I start noticing like when I'm dancing or when I'm just speaking with people, I have a different understanding and mastery of timing. And I'm noticing that actually it affects different parts of my life. So I end up getting this intense curiosity for things that are similar in my life. Like, I'll take that back. It's like, basically, whenever I'm doing something and I find out this other area actually will help me in this thing, I get really curious and want to master this other area. Like I'm doing videos right now, and I'm tapping into this creative flow state, and I'm sounding better and better. I mean, from the first video, it's like, whoa, this is weird. And now I'm getting into the flow with it, but there's like tasks I could do to get even better at doing videos. Like I could do that whole I forgot the name, unfortunately. But there's like things I can go to that like teach me how to like speak, like public speaking things. And I can just start doing public speaking, and I can start practicing that. And it's not an area I would have like had any interest in before. If I wasn't doing these videos, I wouldn't have an interest in public speaking. But because I'm doing these videos and because I can see like, oh, if I do public speaking and if I do get training for public speaking, it'll help my videos. I'm like more fascinated and I'm more wanting to do public speaking because when I especially when I like start actually doing this task and I start practicing this and then like other areas of my life get better, I'm just really intensely curious and fascinated and excited. So that's like mastery. When I master this other thing, these other things get better. I love like playing basketball and then doing these other sports because whenever I did these other sports, I would learn something from them that they do strongly, like they do well, like the way you move in lacrosse versus the way you move in basketball uses different muscles and different limbs and all this stuff and different movements that you just don't use in basketball. But when you get strong in those movements and you go back to basketball, you your movements change, your skills change. You're able to do moves that other people can't do because you have stronger muscles in places where basketball players just don't have as strong as muscles. And it just gets this like, whoa, I'm changing the domain. So back to like purpose and then mastery of like, oh, I'm getting skills that other people don't really have in this domain. And then there's a sense of autonomy of just like, I'm choosing for myself. So like people tell me how to practice and there's a way it's like if it's forced on me or something like you have to do this, it's just like grudging, like I'll grudgingly do it. Like music to me is this thing where I'm just fascinated and I'm enjoying it and I put my attention into it and I'm curious. But if I joined a music class and that's how I started and the teacher's like, you have to do the scale. Da, 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 dee, da, da. And I just did this for an hour. Teacher told me to do this. I just keep practicing. This is how you get good. And if I just did that for an hour and I don't see the point of it, I don't see like the immediate use, I don't feel like I'm mastering anything, I don't see parts of my life getting better, and I just don't have a choice of like I'm not choosing this. I'm just kind of like it was like, oh, I have to practice this way. It's just, yeah, I'll grudgingly do it and I just won't be that motivated. But if I'm choosing for myself, like what if I practice in this way? What if I practice drums by putting a drumless YouTube video on and I try some other things and then I can like, oh, I can do this and I can open up GarageBand and like write this drum beat, listen to what it sounds, then practice that, and then I can like make my own stuff over it, and then I can like rap over it, and then I can learn these things, and then I can write down theory on this, then I can like learn some theory and then come back to it, and then I can practice polyrhythms and then maybe just see what happens with like I like create this polyrhythm on paper, practice it, and then like let go and go into more of an intuitive space where I'm just like, oh, like what happens if I just let go, and after practicing this polyrhythm, will I naturally go into some other kind of polyrhythm or something like that? And I'm just really fascinated, and I'm there's also a sense of like I'm following my wants, and this is like kind of complicated, so I might have a separate video about it. But basically, when I like feel into my body, there's these sense of desires that I have about what I want to do, and there's different types of desires. Like there's like a desire to jump on the drum set right now and practice, and there's a desire to jump on Facebook and then scroll through my newsfeed. And when I feel into these separate desires, they actually have like this different quality to the feeling of the desire. Like there's a sense of like healthiness, and excitement and creativity and flow, and just a kind of like a fulfillment when I feel into the desire of practicing drums. And then there's a sense of like addiction, something that's like kind of like a darker energy when it comes to Facebook and like scrolling through. Like that desire of like, it's like it feels more impulsive with Facebook. Like I'm not actually in control and there's like something else that's driving me there. But like my consciousness is kind of like, it doesn't feel good to us. But there's like this impulsive thing of like, yeah, fulfill this addiction. And like when I actually like feel into the drums, that part is more quiet, and like the rest of me is like, yeah, like something that'll really help us in life. It feels good. It feels fulfilled. Like there's a usefulness of like I can help others, and like a selflessness, and a selfishness, and all this different stuff. And like there's like I'm just drive to it. Like selflessness meaning I can like help others, and I can be of use to others, and I can like provide stuff that is just uniquely from me. And like a selfishness of like my brain gets reorganized, I feel fulfilled, I just feel good, I go to sleep feeling happy. This is the way it's like the whole stressful working versus guilty not working, like guilty, shameful not working. That it's like no matter what you choose, you'll not go to bed happy. You'll go to bed stressed, or you'll go to bed just feeling guilt and shame. But there's a way it's like when I feel into the desire of practicing drums in this like uniquely creative way, it feels fulfilling and I feel happy, and I go to bed like happy and fulfilled. Because first of all, I worked, so I don't feel that guilt or shame. And if I, at this point, if I choose to not work, I trust that, and I'm like, I don't feel guilt or shame with that. But there's like a way that's like when I am working in this way that doesn't fill my body with stress, I just feel fulfillment. And yeah, there's also other elements to this that are just hard to explain and hard to find right now. But I've just found a lot of different parts to it. And I usually focus on like, is this task holding my attention? So there's also a thing to the task of challenge level and holding the attention. So like if I do drums in a way that's too difficult, then there's a way it's like, okay, in order to do this drum beat, I need 30% of my attention on this, 50% of my attention on this, and 20% of my attention on this, let's just say. But if the challenge level is too high, then there's a way it's like, oh, I need 50% of my attention on this, 80% of my attention on this, and 50% of my attention on this. It's like it's too hard, and I don't have enough ability yet to like be able to juggle these things, and I end up just stressing myself out because the challenge level is too high. But if it's too low, then it's just too easy and I get bored. But if like I find that exact right thing, then I get into a flow state. If the task is enjoyable and all of that, and like I feel a sense of purpose, mastery, autonomy, and just like a curiosity and like what will happen if I do this. Not like, oh, I should do this, or I need to do this, or I have to do this, but more like a curiosity and like what would happen if. And then what's cool is like from that question, when you first ask that question, you start working on something, there's like, and you find some gold there, that is the moment where it's just like, boom, okay, I found like this tiny glimmer of gold in this, and it's like, oh my god, what would happen if I keep going further and further and further? And again, it's that question of like, what would happen? What would happen if? Instead of, I need to, I should. And jumping into that, it's like, when the task is just like, it grabs your attention, like you're mastering this thing, and the more you master it, like, you can handle higher challenge levels. And when you feel into that desire of like, you feel into like the healthy desires, not the unhealthy, like addictive desires, you like follow the healthy desires, then you can like follow it naturally and be like, okay, I'm done with this drum beat. Instead, now I want to record it on paper, or I want to record it on the computer and like see it in front of me, what I just created, and like visually see it so I can like understand it or something like that. And then you do that, you feel into that desire, and then maybe there's a desire that comes from that, like what would happen if I rapt over this, and you can like feel into all the just different desires that happen in the moment. Like you start with one thing, and you just start, and you're on this journey of like, what would happen if, from that first time you asked it, and then you're practicing it, and your skill level gets good enough that it's like, okay, I'm kind of done. But there's a way that it's like towards the end of that, with when you're following your creativity, like it's like this creative voice of like, hey, listen to me, like the creative voice is coming out. If you follow that creative voice, like it's appreciating that you listen to it first, and it gets stronger when the more you listen to it, and it'll start giving you more and more ideas. You could like write down these ideas. If you listen to I'm always confused because these different books, like there's The Art of War and there's The War of Art. The War of Art, I don't remember who it was by, maybe Stephen Pressfield, but that book is incredible, and it basically talks about like there's this whole resistance thing that you have to overcome to get into this creative space. And then once you get into this creative space, there's this thing called the creative muse or the muse, and it's like he talks about basically it'll pop up whenever, and you'd have to hurry up and write it down, because there's this like basically you like start practicing this creative part of your brain. You start listening to it and start doing the tasks that it's telling you to do. It will just give you more and more ideas. There's a book I'm doing right now about creativity, and it's basically this is like basically the emergent type of creativity, where like over time just things come to you. Like if you just take a walk or you meditate or like stuff like that. All this, it's actually like when you start really getting into meditation. At first, it's like just really hard because it's like it's painful to like not be like, because I'm getting out of a state of coping. But then it's hard because it's hard to meditate because all these creative ideas keep coming, and you just want to end the meditation, just go into the creative ideas. Because it's just like you're tapping into this like thing where all these emergent ideas are coming out, and it's really incredible to see. But like when you're like following this certain task, like if you listen to that creative voice first and get into that like creative way of working on something that you really find purpose in, then it'll start giving you other ideas of how to get good. And it's just like if you're trying to start a business, that's why people that have started business or like have successful businesses, their number one recommendation is just start. And it's funny because it's like this creative voice, and if you're not listening to it, if you're not like jumping in, then it's like, okay, well, I just won't give you any more. And then you're like, how do I do it? It's like, I already told you how, and you didn't listen to me. So if I just keep telling you stuff, you're not going to listen to me. So it's like, it's not going to tell you like, oh, you're going to do this and this and this. It's more like an excitement. It's like a voice that's like in the back of your subconscious that's like excitedly saying, what if we tried this? And the more we listen to that voice, the more it just gets stronger, and it gives you more ideas, and it like takes the problems of your life, and it's like, what if we did this? What if we did this? And it's like, there's a guy, Kyle Cease, that I love listening to his videos. I highly recommend his videos, and he basically talks about like there's like a lightness to it, or there's I like saying that. It's like there's like a lightness to that voice of like, what if we tried this? And it's like, it's always excited, and it's telling us like, what if we try these creative ideas? And if we just jump into them, like that voice gets stronger and it tells us more stuff to do. But it's hard to trust when it comes to things like quitting our jobs or stuff like that. But it's like, there's like fear to it. But there's ways of like, within our job, we can find creative ways to do the same tasks. So we don't, yeah, I mean, it would probably be great if you hated your job and you quit it, but there's a way that's like Flow by Miele Csikszentmihalyi basically talks about like there's autotelic people, and autotelic people, it doesn't actually really matter the task that they're doing. They'll find ways of making it fun and find ways to make that task into something creative where they're actually getting into a flow state. And there's like the exact opposite of autotelic people, that they could be doing the most fun task in the world and they're still in a state of stress and they're not enjoying it. So it actually matters less the task which still matters. I mean, if there's no purpose to what you're doing, if you can't find purpose in what you're doing, because I have stuff like that, then it's just hard to get motivated, and it's not necessarily your fault. So I don't mean to blame anybody, but there's a way that it's like, if there's no tasks in somebody's life where they feel fun, then I start to question that. And like whenever they're like, oh, this job isn't fun, and it's not able to be fun. It might not be fun right now, but there might be ways of making it fun if we find ways of like connecting how this job has purpose in our life and how it helps us. I do tech support, and so it's like when I'm taking notes on what somebody's saying, I can kind of like get a sense of putting the dots together, and I'm like making something that they can just start talking, and then I have everything that they're saying in front of me, and I could say, hey, you said this at this point. And it's kind of like fun, and like there's a flow state to it, and there's this way I get purpose out of it because it helps my coaching. When somebody's like talking about something, I have all these notes that I'm writing, and I'm like, let's go, oh, you said this, and I remember you said this, and I'm like, how does that tie into this? And then I do different ways like that. So there's like a way like that tech support kind of brings over to my coaching calls, and that's cool. It's like finding ways to make the job more fun and more flow. So there's like ways, like Kyle Cease is like, follow that voice, and he might say like, if it says quit your job, like I would recommend doing it and stuff like that, and like, or just like listening to the voice. And he also talks about like you can hate your job and stay in it. And he says most people do that, and I agree. And it's like you can love your job and leave it. You can love your job and stay in it. There might be a fourth choice. But yeah, how could we actually, if we do want to quit, but it's like there's a fear of quitting, and like we're depending on this for money. There's a way it's like, yeah, it's great. Like maybe you should quit. There's a way of like, for now, if you're not making a decision to quit, can we make this job more enjoyable for you so it's not stressing you out? Because is this creative voice like, yeah, the creative voice is saying quit right now, but is it also saying, can we do this stuff differently so like that we get into a flow state? And is there things that you don't have fear around, that the creative voice is like, what if we try this? What if we try this? Like maybe you're at home and you're like, hey, what if we turned off the TV and we made a poem? Like you can, it's like, oh, I don't have the time. I just need to relax. Well, that could actually be more relaxing. Like there's ways of like, you don't have to do the scary thing to like listen to the creative voice. Your creative voice is probably saying other things as well, and if we start practicing it, we can make it stronger, and it can actually like lead us to incredible places. I mean, I found that I've been able to do like 10 times the work if I really tap into this voice. I'm just way more efficient. I'm able to work longer hours. I'm able to like get more done within each hour, and just like the things I come up with are just incredible, and I just have more enjoyment, and I go to bed more fulfilled, and I don't need to guilt trip myself and shame myself for not working. I could just feel good about not working and feel good about working, and then I feel good no matter what I choose. Anyways, hope this helps. Hope this helps you find a way of like making tasks fun. There's a lot of elements to this: mastery, autonomy, flow, enjoyment, adjusting the challenge level, putting attention into different pieces, purpose, curiosity, what if rather than should. There's a lot of pieces. I hope this helps. I recommend starting with just pure boredom. If you feel like you're that kind of person that was taught, oh, stressful working and then coping and feeling guilt and shame, I recommend starting with like just pure boredom, and then just staying within that boredom and seeing what arises, like from an inspirative place, like the whole feeling into the desires, and is this an addictive coping desire, or is this like a fulfilling creative voice desire, and like start listening to that creative voice. Anyways, hope this helps. Love y'all.